What's going on, guys? Michael Elliott here. So today we are going to be running through n8n Zero to Hero guide. This is part one of maybe 3 or 4 further videos that I'm going to take you through. By the end of it, you're going to be able to fully deploy a saleable flow to a client. That's really important. Today's video is about the basics and understanding UI, pricing, self-hosting of n8n, all of these different things that might have confused you up until now. I'm going to cover them all in detail, but I'm going to focus on the 10, 15, 20% that actually matter, and I'm going to leave everything else that doesn't, so that you can just laser in on where your focus should be. We'll build 2 or 3 basic flows together, and that will give you a core understanding and confidence before we go into the next stage, which is further deployment of builds. So let's jump into it. So the first thing I need you to do is head over to n8n.io, right? We're going to sign up. We're going to create an account together, literally at the same time as one another. I'm going to get rid of these cookies. There is nothing on this page that you need to know other than the fact that you can plug into over 500 integrations, which isn't actually a lot in comparison to things like make.com, but you can plug into them. There's only one thing that I really want to show you, which is really important. Well, there's 2 things I really want to show you, and I'm going to show them quickly, but they are important. So from a pricing perspective, you have 2 options when it comes to n8n. You can either have the cloud-based version, which is by far and away the easiest route, avoids any issues later. I strongly advise that you stick with cloud-based hosting of n8n. They charge you £20 a month if billed annually and £24 a month if billed monthly, although you get a 14-day free trial. And if it's self-hosted and you start the free trial here, you can go through this. But there are cheaper ways to be able to self-host n8n, and I'm not going to go into it in this video because this is a beginner's guide. If anybody wants a video, hit in the comments, let me know about getting self-hosting set up. Self-hosting effectively allows you to run as many executions as you want for next to nothing, like the cost of the server hosting. So it's a cheaper option, but this is by far and away simpler. When you're self-hosted, you lose loads of individual features, like the AI feature. You lose the ability to just click a button for credentials. I strongly advise you stick with self-hosted. That's what we're going to do today. So we've covered pricing. Now the only other thing I want to cover is product templates. So if you head to products in the top left and go to templates, you'll see that there are 5,138 workflows, right, from a template perspective. A fantastic person to start with when it comes down to using templates is a guy called Lucas Perrin. He's a French guy. I personally know him. He's sound, he's very intelligent, and he has some really good templates. Okay, so if I were you, once we finish building together, importing templates off the bat is probably not the best idea. We need to build something together first so you understand the logic. But then when you're looking at more complex flows, you can import them from here and your brain will already understand how things are working and you can put things into action. The final thing I'll show you on this is that you can search by app. So one thing that's critical is I'm going to go through some generic stuff today and we're actually going to build together. So we're going to build live. But the problem is that when it comes to deployment for you as an individual, you're going to have your own tech stack. You're going to have the own things you use. Some of you are going to use Airtable. So the others are going to use Google Sheets. Some are going to use Telegram. Some are going to use, I don't know, whatever your tech stack is, HubSpot, Zoho. You're going to have them. Well, you can stack them on top of one another, and you can find. You see, there's none that use Google Sheets for Zoho, but there are 4 Zoho automations: qualify, meta, add leads, and with WhatsApp verification, Gemini, and Zoho CRM. So there are opportunities for you to find templates that already match your space and where you're at now, and you also have you have the ability to be able to go through your individual steps and follow them. What we're going to do, though, is we're going to go right up here in the right corner and hit Get Started. And we're going to fill this information in. Michael Elliott, company email. Michael, what email am I using? Michael at Hayatomo AI. Michael, this is not my main email, by the way. This is a cold email. Add your password. Keep it nice and safe. Don't let anybody see. And here we're going to call it Michael Elliott test n8n. Yeah. You should call this your name. Call it something related to your company or whatever. So let's start the free trial. We're going to hit save. Then the type form is going to pop up and it's going to ask you a few questions. I'm going to very quickly skip through this so you don't have to worry. What team are you on? Marketing. What best describes your company? Software as a service. Which tools have you used before? Make.com. Maybe some of you have used that. Yeah, okay. Where did you hear about us? LinkedIn. Submit. Invite team members. If you've got any team members, add their email here, but I'm going to skip it. Your workplace is starting up. They actually have quite a cute quick start tutorial, but I'm going to run you through what you need to know from a basic perspective. And there's no need for you to watch that, although you could watch it later, you could save it. That's how quickly you can start an instance. You hit start automating. Now we have an n8n platform self-hosted an n8n instance cloud-hosted instance from n8n. So that's how easy it is to sign up and use n8n. We're now going to get into the intricacies of the platform and how we're actually going to use it, then going on to a build. But I'm going to give you a quick overview of the AI. In real life, I never use this tab. So let me just get rid of the upgrade thing for now to clean it up. In reality, I never use this tab, this overview tab. I just really don't. Like looking at failure rates and stuff like that. I get alerts anyway. I know if there's a problem. So I head over to personal. This is where I live, right? Personal. Inside of here, there's three options. There are workflows, which are, if you've used make.com, they're scenarios. If you haven't, each individual workflow is effectively your brand new baby that you're building your workflow out of. So they can speak to one another. You can connect them in different ways moving forward when you get more technical. But a workflow is just effectively where we piece together our nodes that allow us to be able to build out things which save us time and save businesses time. That's where we are from a workflows point of view. Credentials are where you can go and add your credentials in terms of, like, if you wanted to connect your Gmail right now, you could add your first credential and add Gmail as a credential. If you wanted to add HubSpot, you could add HubSpot. But you can do this live inside of the workflows themselves, which is how I do it. I prefer to do it that way, and I strongly advise you do, because it just, I don't know, it makes life a lot easier. There are exceptions to this rule, but we don't need to complicate things now. The final thing in here I'll show you is executions. Obviously, this is a brand new n8n instance, so we don't have any executions that have already happened, but we will do later, and I will show you. You can see templates down at the bottom. You could click admin panel. Well, let me open in a new tab, so we'll have to go to it. But inside of the admin panel, this is your dashboard where you can upgrade your plan. Not only that, you can manage it. And what's important, the only thing that's important really, is obviously you have your billing, but you have what n8n version you are on, what time zone you are on, and a couple of options here, like when this has it, verified community nodes is an important feature for later. But forgetting about that one and looking at these two, time zone and latest version, you can see we're on the latest stable version, and that's the one I strongly advise that you remain on. So if we go back to dashboard and click open instance, it'll bring us back to where we need to be. We head to personal, and there's a project section. If you had a keen eye during the pricing stage, you'll see we can only have one project on the basic plan of £24 a month. But you can add a project in here, my first project, and you can hit save. A good way to do this, would be to use your project as your business, as your name, things for you, everything, every flow that you build for you, you can build it inside of your project, but you don't need a project inside of personal, which is where we need to be. Go start from scratch, and this is the canvas. So our canvas is here. What you see in front of you is it's a little bit common sense because of what it says. It's add first step. Okay. So adding a first step is obviously what we need to do. But before we head into that, I'm going to show you a few features. The first one being, because I've now moved the node around and made some different changes, you can see that this little button here turns orange. If this little button here is orange, it means that you haven't saved. So Command S, if you click on the canvas, Command S, it will save. Now, you need to get into a habit after every single change to save. Okay? Because this little button next to it is a version history. And you can have a look no matter how deep you go into your... So let's just do something here. Let me add a trigger. Don't worry about following along with this, but this is just for me to show you something. I'm going to add 3 random nodes. I have to install that. Don't want to do that. I'm going to add 3 completely random nodes that we're probably not going to use today. We're not going to use them. But I'm just going to have 3 random nodes. I'm going to make them look all ugly. Like, look at that. Look how ugly they look. I'm going to Command S and save it. Oh no. I've just added some nodes that I didn't need, and I've now lost my flow. Well, no, we haven't, because we can look at the version history. But before that, see this little brush at the bottom? If you hit that brush, it will tidy up your flow. So it doesn't matter where you drag them, it will tidy up your flow and it will centralize them all. Something which is important when you're dealing with longer flows, because it keeps it nice and tidy. The only thing is, sometimes when you have loops and stuff, and this is more complex things, but when you have certain nodes in there or certain structures in there, it can actually leave you in a position where it makes it uglier. So just be careful before you press it, because you can always Command Z it like I've just done there and go back, so don't be scared. But from a version history point of view, we look at the... Right, see, so I've just made the same mistake. Command S, we want to save it now that we've done it. I need to practice what I preach. We go to the work version history, and if you look, you see the version history. So we can see 1 as it stands right now today. We can see, well, as of right now, this second. We can see 1, a minute before it, or whatever that was, whatever that is. And we can see 1 a minute before that. This was an empty blank canvas. I don't know why I can't see anything inside of here. But what we're going to do is we're going to restore to this version. Restore back to that version. Close the version history. And we're back to square one. And that is such a key and core function, because you don't have to be worried if you get something wrong when you add something new to a flow, because you have a version history. It will stay for a certain amount of time. You're in a position where the version history will be available to you when you're live editing, so you don't have to worry about making a mistake. Okay. Now we've covered all of the UI. There's a couple of things over here. You've got a focus panel which opens up, which you can ask there's an AI assistant. Let's close that focus panel. There's an AI assistant that can ask you to do basic things. How can I add a trigger node? It's actually quite useful for beginners to use. It will help you. This will come back. To add a trigger node in n8n, click the plus button in your workflow editor. In the node search bar, type trigger, see available trigger nodes, select the trigger node. So you can see why AI might be of an assistance to you. And the final thing is this button here is a sticky note. And that allows you to be able to document what you do along the way, which is quite important. You'll have seen them in a few of my videos, but we're not going to do that for now. So Command S, we've got a blank canvas. Let's get ready to upgrade now, and let's start building something. Okay, so we're going to build from scratch. Now we're going to add a first step, and what we're going to do is we are going to have this. Let's start with a simple AI agent, because you'll learn quite a bit out of this from an AI agent. Actually, no. We're going to start with an on-form submission. So click the node in the middle, click on-form submission, and just escape back to Canvas. We haven't set up this form submission yet, but we know what it is, and a really good habit to get into is when you escape out of a node, press the space bar, and when you press the space bar, you can read it. You can rename it. Form submission to clear things up. You should do this for every single node that you add. Every single node that's added, you need to rename, because you might want to add specific things in a complex flow explaining what it does. It's really important you get into these good habits now. Really important. So you'll see now this little icon that we can drag. Like, you can drag it around. Well, that little plus icon is how you add another node. So if you press that plus icon, you're going to have a list that comes up on the right hand side. Okay, and these are all the nodes that you can add: AI, action in a loop, data transformation, flow, core, human in loop. Add another trigger. So what we do here is we want to go through action in app nodes, what they are. We've added a form submission as a trigger, but I've got something prepared that I want to showcase to you before we add any more nodes. We've learned how to add a node now. Okay, so we know how to add a node. We've just done it together. We've clicked on that. We've selected on form submission, right? But there are many nodes to choose from. As you've seen, they've got over 500 native connections. But in here, I have an overview of what flows are to explain to you quickly now. And I'm going to run through them quite quickly because I want to get us building. But there are 3 different types of nodes, effectively: trigger nodes, action nodes, and logic nodes. The trigger node, you can see the form submission we just had. A trigger is something that fires off it fires off the execution. So on the form, when that form is submitted, the workflow will fire because it has a trigger. We can have a schedule, so we can set it to run once a day, once an hour, once every 3 hours, or once every week, whatever it is, once every Thursday. Whatever the trigger is, we can schedule a trigger. Those are triggers. Probably the two most powerful ones are when executed by another workflow, which we will get into in subsequent videos to this, and webhooks, which we will get into in subsequent videos to this. But these are trigger nodes. These are things that when something happens, inside of these nodes, something happens, and that is what starts the flow. Action nodes, on the other hand, are individual tools. So when I say tools, I mean Google Sheets being a tool, Perplexity being a tool, Airtable being a tool, Google Calendar being a tool. All of these things, they're action nodes. Inside of action nodes, they can do many things. They can create documents, like this is what I've selected for this one. But if I was to delete this and add another node, oops, not AI, add action in app, in fact, just search for Sheets, Google Sheets, I can have it do any of these things, append and update a row, which is something we're going to use in a moment. And you can see why they're so powerful, because you have many actions that are available to us from an AI, but from an n8n perspective. Logic nodes are where the true power of n8n comes in, because logic nodes allow you to be able to really do some key and core things. One of my favorite ones is the split out node and the aggregate node. Group all individual items into an array. I'm not going to go into detail about what they are because this is a beginner course, but you can split one item, one array out, one object out into many. Or you can do the opposite with an aggregate node. Multiple reasons why you would do either. Not really for this. But the Swiss Army knife of n8n are HTTP requests, where we use an HTTP request to make a request to a API that allows us to be able to manipulate data that is not inside of n8n when it doesn't, especially when it doesn't have a native integration. So if you think about that as an opportunity, effectively, that's the Swiss Army knife that allows you to connect to everything on the internet. That's the way that I would explain it. Okay. Now the code node is the goat node, right? The power of this bad boy is something that you as you begin as you begin your journey in AI and n8n usage, this code node is a disgusting animal, right? It is so powerful that it will blow you away. Something that could take 7 nodes, you can do it with a code node. We're not going to get into this until later on in this playlist and flow, but this is the GOAT node. I have no doubt about it. Inside of this is JavaScript, but the beautiful thing is that LLMs now, like ChatGPT and OpenAI, ChatGPT, AI Studio, etc., are so powerful from a simple prompt and even a screenshot of your flow, for example, you could have it write the correct JSON and it will just do everything for you. It is spectacular what the code node can do. I'm not going to bang on about it anymore, but it is incredible. Now, the final piece that I want to cover is an AI agent. Now, AI agents are a little bit of a divided territory. You'll have seen probably if you're watching this video AI agent builds or AI agent flows where 100 million AI agents can develop can manage your day. Well, they can, but they're very, very, very likely to break. The consistency isn't where it needs to be. We're going to use an AI agent today in our second flow. There are use cases where I use them. For example, they can accept binary files, whereas other nodes, like the basic LLM chain, can't accept a binary file. All of this stuff you don't need to... By binary file, I mean a file. Binary is a file in n8n. So I don't want to bore you with that stuff, but AI agents can do some really cool stuff. And in your position now, we're going to use them to be able to do it. Right. So the boring stuff is now out of the way. And we're going to start with a live build. So we're going to head up here to the top left-hand corner where you can see this. It's a horrible track. That's a horrible arrow. And we're going to hit it and we're going to rename it Our First Workflow. Okay. So now we've renamed it. The workflow is named properly and appropriately. It's been saved. If we go to the overview page or the personal page, which is where I live, you'll see that our workflow's here. It's saved. If we added another workflow and saved it and called it our second workflow and saved it and head back to personal, you can see how they go together. Now, what I need to do here, though, is I need to create a folder for organization. So YouTube series n8n beginner guide. Create. Now we have a folder, and I'm simply going to drag and drop both of those in there, and now I'm organized. Because if I create overflows inside of here, in your instance, if you create overflows inside of there, you can add more folders, you can put them in for the right things so you know where they are. So now we know we're in our first workflow. And here we are. We're going to add a trigger. So we're going to click this big button and we're going to hit on form submission. It generates work forms in n8n and passes their response to the workflow. And inside of here, we're going to give it a title, and we're also going to do something pretty cool, which I don't see in a lot of n8n beginners, but it's going to teach you how to leverage AI. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to call the form title New Inquiry Form. And the description is going to be a form for new inquiries to submit. And then right here, you're going to see add a form element. Don't worry about any of the other options for now. Add in a form element. And here we get to add the fields to the form. Simple as that. So the field name for the first one, we're going to want a name. Oops, we're going to want a name. And the element type is going to be text, which means they type it in. If you look at the options, there are a lot. There are individual things. There are checkboxes. There are drop downs, which we'll use, radio buttons, passwords. There are all sorts of different things. For this, obviously, simplicity, we're going to stick with text. Name. Now, placeholder text is what is shown to the user on the form. So what we want to put is, please enter your name. Tick it as a required field, which means they can't submit the form without it, and then add another form element. And this field name is going to be email. Now we're going to leave it as text, even though there is an email option. Just it doesn't matter. It keeps it as a string. It's easy. Doesn't matter. And then finally, so we're going to hit add form element one more time. So we're going to have 3 elements, and we're going to call this service. And we're mimicking a business's flow here of like a form submission. That service is not going to be text. It's actually going to be a drop down. So we click element type, we choose drop down, and at option 1, I'm going to put PPC. I'm going to add another field option as AI. Okay, so the inquiry can either be about PPC or it can be about AI. And then we will add one final field element, and we'll call this description. Description. Okay, and the placeholder, please tell us about your inquiry. So we have name, email, service, which is a drop down, and a description. Okay, so we're going to escape out of that. Command S to save, spacebar to rename, inquiry form. Rename. We now have our inquiry form fully built out, ready to rock and roll. All we need to do now to see this in action is hit execute workflow. So we execute the workflow, and this is the standard n8n form. You'll see that it tells you when you're in test mode, which is important. And we're going to do this, Michael Elliott. Well, let's just give Michael at aitrain.co.uk. Well, actually, let's use, yeah. We're going to select AI as the service and the description. I'm looking for an AI solution to my client onboarding system. Currently, it's all manual and time consuming. And we submit. The form's been submitted. You can see that around the trigger node of the form, it's turned green, and there's one item in the output, which you can see there. So that means our data is now available to us. So in the right hand side, you see you can pin this output instead of waiting for a test event. So by clicking on it on the node and pressing the letter P, you can pin it. You see how that little icon there, the little pin? That shows us that we have pinned the data now. So what that means is every time we're building the flow moving forward and we want to execute, we don't need to go and resubmit a form. So, and that is really, really, really important, because when you pin data in a flow, it avoids AI having to use credits. It keeps you on a path to focus on the specific section of a flow that you're getting into, and I'm trying to keep you in some good habits here, although I am going to unpin it in a minute to show you something. Now, in the output, you can see this wonderful table. Name, email, service from the drop down, pick the right one, and the description that they wrote. You can also see a couple of others. Form mode and submitted at. We don't really care about those. We care about these four. We care about these four here. These are what came from our form. So we have a fully functioning form now that we could send the URL to a user to submit, and we would be able to receive this information. So we've got a fully functioning form. We now just have to build out the remainder of the steps in terms of what we're trying to get this to do. And what I want you to do here is add a Google Sheets node by clicking the little square, the sort of smaller square, less obnoxious button there. And I want you to go search for Google Sheets. Now, I always search for nodes. You can find the nodes by clicking action in app and finding it. But I just find that searching for whatever tool I'm using, your tech stack is going to be made up of like 5 things, like, 7 things maximum. And this is why everyone shouldn't be scared of AI, because you're in a position here where you don't need to use every single tool in the box. You just need to use what's right for you or for the individual client that you're using. And when you look at it like that, it becomes a lot less daunting when you're trying to learn like this. But we want to append or update a row in Google Sheets, okay? Because that means that we're editing a sheet that already exists and we're appending or updating a row inside of it. So we want to do this. Now, we've got the data on the left, and something I haven't yet covered is the 3 different views, okay? The 3 different views that you've got, you'll notice that this is different to what we saw inside of the form a moment ago. This is called schema. And schema allows us to be able to dynamically use data that we've already got from previous nodes in future nodes. Stay with me, it's very easy. This is what we were looking at a minute ago, the table. This is the data as it exists, very simple. Now, we have the schema, which has them all separated out into individual entities, they're individual strings on their own. The key and the value. The key is the name, the value is Michael. That's how JSON basically is structured from top to bottom, but this isn't about JSON. Watch my video on JSON if you want to learn about that. Effectively, schema allows us to be able to dynamically input data into specific areas. Okay. There is also a JSON option which allows you to see the JavaScript output, and that will show you a similar thing, but this way it's very clear to see the key, the name, and the value, because the value is in the key is in brackets, curly brackets, then there's a semicolon, then there's the value in brackets itself. Those are the 3 views. Table is much simpler to keep your eye on when you're looking at information and you want to see it. JSON is an extremely important format you'll go on later to be extremely comfortable with. And schema is where we're going to use to be able to dynamically drag and drop information. But we have a core problem here that doesn't exist. We're going to rename this row, update/append row. We're going to rename it. We're going to Command S it. And what we're going to do is we're going to go inside of this sheet and look here. Create a credential to connect with. Well, we have to connect a credential. At the moment, it's just an empty node. And that's what they're called. They're all called nodes, these little squares. This is node 1, this is node 2. They're all called nodes, and in this one is broken, and it's broken because of multiple reasons. It doesn't have a document or a sheet, but it doesn't have that because we don't have the credentials. So we need to create a new credential. And all you've got to do is hit select credential, create new credential, and hit sign in with Google. And then select the email address that you're using. Continue. Oh, go back. Sorry. Got to tick these, select them all. Apologies for that. Tick them all. Connection successful. Accounts created and connected. Absolutely fantastic. Now, I have a document that I've already built out that I need to add the description to. Feel free just to pause the video and do this. The way that you would do it, though, you can probably do it whilst I'm talking, is go to sheets.new, hit enter. It will open you a Google Sheet up, and then you would literally just copy these 4 individual things over. Bang, you've got it. Name, email, service, description. That's what you need. So I'm slowing down intentionally here in case you need to go and do that whilst you're doing it. But the fact is that now one thing that we've been through is creating credentials. Creating credentials is something that you're going to do consistently. Doesn't matter what sort of credential it is that you're trying to connect with, you can connect with it, and often you can just sign in using Google. Sometimes it gets a little bit more complex, but we don't need to go into that now. It's just based around the basics. So inside of this now we have options, right? Append or update a row. You can see in here you can actually change to the other options that were available. Get rows, update rows, create a row. Create a new sheet. Clear, delete contents or part of a sheet. But append or update a row is the most common one that you're going to use, so we're going to use it today. And then there are a few different options. We can either select the document from list, by URL, or by ID. For simplicity today, we're going to select from the list, and we're going to select my sheet is called Our First Build. So I'm going to select Our First Build there. Then the sheet underneath, which is a little bit confusing to be honest with you, the sheet underneath is the name of the sheet, because there's multiple sheets can be inside of one Google Sheet. This is called Sheet 1, and as a standard practice, they're all called Sheet 1. So we can select from the drop down, which is the easiest way, and I advise a beginner to do so. But you can also select by URL, ID, and so on and so forth. But I'm going to stick to the basics in this video. We'll do all of this later on. Now, one thing that is important is selecting a column to match on. And a column to match on is the column that is going to be effectively unique for each individual user. So what you don't want to match on is the service, for example, because the service can be the same for multiple people. Whereas an email or a name can be the same. Whereas an email is, nobody has the same email. Nobody on the planet has the same email. It just doesn't happen. So we want to select the column to match on, and we want it to be email. Right? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to add these variables, and this is where the schema section comes in. Be careful here, because you might be on table, you might be on JSON, but you need to hit the schema section and drag and drop the individual options into the right location. So we've got name, we've got service. You literally just click the box and drag it. Service, description. And then for the email, I'm just going to show you how you would manually do it. If you press the equals sign here, okay, because we can see 3 examples below, very simple, right? Very simple, basic variables. Now, if we've pressed equals, so this is now an expression. You'll see the fixed and expression. Fixed, you drag and drop in. So we drag the email in, fixed, boom, JSON email. Or what we can do is we can do it using an expression, 2 curly brackets, JSON dot email. Literally, and let me run through that one more time for you. I'm going to delete it. You add 2 curly brackets, shift and where the square brackets are. You select JSON, you put a period, and then you select email. You can see it's brought through everything. Description, email, form, name, service. If we select email and it turns green, that's correct, right? And we're going to append this sheet with this information. Congratulations. You've just written your first piece of code during this individual process. So we've not only dragged the variables over, the parameters over, we have actually also just manually coded in something, which is quite a big feat. You're already ahead of 99% of people by being able to do that, right? So I just wanted to add that in this video. If you can't get it to work for whatever reason, just drag and drop the email over. It's absolutely fine. Don't worry. But I think that was quite simple. So now when we execute step, this should update our sheet. We execute step, the node's doing its thing. The outputs now only contains, if you look at the differences, submitted at and form mode are gone because we didn't add them to the values to send. We've got these, and if we go to our sheet, we have a full system. Okay? So we now have a Google Sheet which is listening to our flow. We now have our first functioning connection of nodes, the grouping together of nodes that allows n8n to be able to communicate with other third-party platforms via their credentials, which is what we've just done. So congratulations, right? We're making good headway. But there's something in here, so we want to pin this. There's something, so click into it. This little button in the top corner is your friend, but I much prefer to click the node and click pin, and it will press the letter P, and it will pin the data, but you can use that if you must. Pin the data. We've now got a sheet which updates. Well, let's roll back a minute. What have we got? We've got an inquiry form which has a name and email, but it has a service. But there are two types of services. Well, let's, for theory's sake, say we have a PPC department and an AI department, okay? And we're trying to route inquiries based off of what they put in their form. How do we do that? Well, how we do that is by using an using a switch node. We'll use a switch here because ifs are really common. You can do it both ways, but we'll use a switch. So what we want to do here is we want to use the switch node with the schema, and we want to put it as service is equal to AI. Okay. And then add another routing rule. Drag the service again, or we can be cute. Let's be cute, guys. Let's do that. Double curly, equals sign, or click this button here for expression. Double curly brackets, JSON, period, service, green, variables pulling through. You can see that by hovering over it. Result AI. When we submitted the form, it was AI. And is equal to PPC. So we now can come out of this. Well, we can now execute the step. All right. And what you'll see here is this. We're going to come out. We're going to Command S. We're going to save. We now have a switch node, PPC or AI. PPC or AI. Rename. You see one item got outputted there. Ignore the zeros. That's just the way that they do it. You could add a million. Look, add different routing rules. If you add them, it will add more routing rules to it, starting at 0 and going increasing from there. Of course, we only want to keep those two. But this has gone down this 0 route, which is the first one it can, because it's equal to AI. If I drag and drop them and execute the step again, you'll see it went to the bottom one. So you can understand now what is happening. If it chooses AI, it's going to go down the correct route, whichever way we have put it together. If it's PPC, it's going to go to the other section. Now let's test it out. Because if we go into the JSON inside of here, and we click this little pencil, we can edit the output, sorry, and we're going to inside of those two curly brackets. You don't necessarily have to do this if you don't want to break your flow, but I'm going to change it to PPC, and I'm going to save it. Data's still pinned. The service is PPC now. You see the output when it was AI? If we execute this step again, you'll see it output the item to the PPC route. So I hope that's clear. And that is the power of using logic nodes, because you can move different things to different areas. We're using PPC and AI and the theory that there's two different departments. Well, we want to do two different things, don't we? Based off of that. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to add a node here. So sorry, we're going to pin this data by clicking it and pressing the letter P, and we're going to add Gmail, and we're going to send a message. Now, for the sake of this video, so credential, again, Gmail needs a new credential. So we've done this before, guys. You know you're comfortable now. You hit credential, you hit sign in with Google, you choose the email address that you're using, you give it full permissions by clicking select all and click continue, and you're connected. It's that easy. This is why you use the cloud, by the way, because you can't do this when self-hosted. So this is why you use the cloud when you're beginning. So we now have a Gmail account. So who do we want to send it to? Well, I'm gonna have it send it to my PPC email, which is not related to this, and I'm gonna have it say new PPC lead. Hi, Michael. There's a new PPC lead. Please see below. Please see below. I'm just dragging. So what I'm doing, in fact, I'll do this slower because you're going to be following along. So now I've added this. What we're going to do is name, JSON.name, service, name, JSON.name, service, drag, service over, description, pull this over, user's email address, drag the email over. So now we send these emails, it's going to come to michael@adtrain.co.uk. Let's execute that step. You'll need to put your own individual email in here, obviously. Don't send me a bunch of emails, please. You don't need to do that. But let me just flick the camera a moment and let me load up my inbox and let me show you what I've received. So this is the email that came through. New PPC lead in the subject. Hi Michael, there's a new PPC lead. You can see the description, you can see the service, the format's off, which is fine. Don't worry about that for now. You can fix the formatting that it's sent in, but we're not going to worry about it. This is about building your first flow. One thing we will address though is this little pesky devil. So this email was automatically sent using n8n. Okay, so let's get rid of that now. For now, anyway, and let's add an option, and you'll see append n8n attribution. Just turn that off, and now it won't add that little line to the email. It's important, so we want to command save. You'll see here how you could do some really cute things if you just think. I know that this is a beginner's video, but they have IDs and thread IDs. So that you could then go and do that. and you could update it, but that's not, like you could use the thread ID to create an AI that goes backwards and forwards, etc. I'm just trying to show you. So we have that send a message. Well, the beautiful thing is, right, is that we can pin that data now, but we have the exact same thing from an AI perspective, okay? But we just need to update a couple of things. So we're not going to add another Gmail node. We're going to rename this one PPC lead email sent. And we're going to rename this one, we're going to Command D or Control D, which duplicates it. We're going to line them up. And you see this little connection? We're going to drag it and we're going to connect it to that node. Now, what we have here is a PPC lead. Let's rename this. AI lead email sent. Rename. Don't worry about the one item. That's just the output because this hasn't been run yet. And the data's in here. Michael, so let's just say it. Let's just use Michael at, what's this email I'm using? Michael at hi@Atomo AI. Michael at hi@atomoai.co.uk, was it? Michael at atomoai.co.com. Michael at hi.com. New AI lead. Change this to new AI lead. Please see below. Escape. Command S. We've already renamed it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to unpin all this data. We're just going to check the routing. JSON is equal to PPC is the first one. We're going to unpin this, and this. We're going to Command S it. Okay. And we are going to execute the workflow again. Michael, let's just call it David so you can see it in the sheet. David, Michael at hi@atomoai.com. And this time we want to select, did we select PPC as a service last time? I think we did. No, I don't know. I can't remember which one we did. I think we did that, but this will show you it in action anyway. I'm struggling. No, we did use AI. Let's use PPC. Just for an example, I need PPC support. My account is not performing. All right, let's just say this is the inquiry. Now, we're going to submit the form. It's going to flow through. It's going to update the row in Sheets. Invalid email address. Michael, you silly devil. Didn't save it. Michael at atomoai.com. Command S. Execute the step. See, so it did go through. I'll show you in Gmail that went through as a PPC lead. And we'll execute it again. Do you know what? We're just going to execute it again and we're going to do another AI lead. Michael. Mike Dr. Elliott at gmail.com. Service AI. Description. I need AI support. Submit. Email sent. So you can see how that flow is now fully functioning. Congratulations, you have a flow. New AI lead. There is a new AI lead. You'll notice that there is no appending from n8n inside of here. So we have that, and if we look inside of the sheet, we'll see that we have 3 different inquiries that have come through from individual reasons, and we're routing them based off of this. So Command S this, because we're gonna use this. We're gonna use this to continue to develop the flow. Now I'm gonna take you into another flow. that we're going to use. So I'm going to head back to my folder that I created earlier and go into our second workflow. And it's time to hit it again. Let's close this form down, but we're going to use something different this time. Something completely different so that it's functionable. So here we're going to have a on-chat submission. So what we've done is we've come back in. I don't want to rush ahead. We've come back in. I've already renamed it my second workflow. If you don't have the workflow already created, just hit create a workflow to create a new one. But the second workflow is going to be an AI agent, and this is going to tap into a few things that are completely different to what we've just done. Now, we're going to have this when we add a trigger. There are lots of different triggers, of course, but we're going to use on-chat message. So you press the node, you hit on-chat message, and hit escape to come out. Now, what we're going to use here, we're going to rename space. Remember, always remember to rename your nodes. Rename your nodes. This will really save you. Not right now, it won't, but later, trust me. The habit of renaming your nodes takes a second, 2 seconds, and it will save your life later on. Command S will also save your life later on. And what we're going to do is we're going to add an AI agent. So we click the little square here. We hit this little square, and we search for an AI agent, and we've got him. And there he is. What a little robot, right? And this time we're going to call him the legendary robot. Okay, right? So he's a legendary robot. You don't have to rename him that. He's an AI assistant, okay? For the use case of this video, I better rename him AI assistant, right? So we've got the AI assistant. Well, now we need to connect a chat model. And in order to connect a chat model, we need to set up an account and create a new credential. So with this credential, this is going to be something where we have to connect it, and I'm going to use Gemini. So Gemini, search for Google Gemini. Well, search for Google AI Studio. And we need to go to settings. We need to get an API key. Create. So we've gone down here to get an API key. Create an API key. Oops, I just paused that. Hit create an API key. Didn't think that was centered. Copy this API key. Keep this safe. Don't give this to anyone. I will delete this key the minute this video is finished. But you copy this API key, and you go inside of here. You paste the API key in, and you hit save. And you have now connected your first API. As simple as that. Okay. Literally as simple as that. Now you have your Gemini Flash available. There may be a cost to this to run this agent of $5. I'm not sure if you can use the API for free, to be honest with you, because I don't use anything for free and forever. But you may have to sign up for this for the $5 of usage. The ChatGPT, I think, definitely has that. But sticking on task, the chat model is the brain. Okay, so this chat model is the brain that's behind everything. Whatever you select here, in terms of your model, is the key. So this is using 2.5 Flash. It's fine for what we want. We could use lesser models if we wanted to. You could, because they're cheaper. This is why you would look at this. But you can also use like 2.5 Pro. If you want, when it's in production, you want the best output consistently. We'll stick with Flash for now. We need to add a memory to this, simple memory, and we're going to give it basically the memory is exactly what it is. So I'm going to rename the Gemini node Gemini 2.5 Flash. because I'm not following my own advice and what I do normally when I build, because I'm presenting. Memory. So this is Gemini 2.5 Flash, our brain. That's the memory. And you know what's cool about AI assistants is that we can connect as many tools as we physically possibly want. Whether it be another workflow, this is where I have to tap into the. This is where I have to tap into the power of AI agents. AI agents are extremely powerful. And as a beginner, this is really important to understand because you're going to be able to use them and play around with them. But for production usages, when it comes to client delivery, I hardly ever use them. And if I do use them, they don't have any tools attached. Do not get confused by that right now. All I'm saying to you is that AI agents are freaking cool, right? They are awesome. They're amazing. You're going to see why in a moment. Even if I have to copy this over to my main account because of the Gemini thing. But you're going to see an incredible workflow based off of what we put together for some basic tools and information using AI assistants. They're really powerful. The memory gives it memory to be able to showcase it to you, and I'll show you that now. But I just wanted to take a second to explain AI agents are really powerful when it comes down to messing around with stuff like this. So it now has a memory, okay? There's another key, that hotkey that I need to teach you, and it's the letter L. You press the letter L and the logs show. Logs are important because logs show you the history. When you'll see when we fire this in a moment, what happens. Hi, my name is Michael. You'll see the assistant goes through Gemini Flash. There's no system prompt inside the assistant. So, because it was a basic prompt, so it didn't have it for you. So, user must use the form or file JSON tool to complete the answer. What is you can't, but what is my name? Your name is Michael. You just told me that, and I remember. So you can see here that the memory is once I told it my name was Michael, it then remembered that my name was Michael when I asked it. If I detach this memory and I say, "Hi, my name is Michael. What's my name?" As an AI, I don't have access to personal information. So you can see the power of the memory node now. I'm going to go back into it. I'm going to set it at 1,000 Windows memory, okay? But what's important here is the logs. The logs show you what happened. So the chat message triggered, the AI assistant then started running. It then very quickly went to Gemini Flash, which is our brain, and it gave us this output, the input and the output. The output, the input. You can see what we're looking at. By toggling these, you can see the outputs and inputs. Inputs are what are on this side, what is coming in, and the output is what's on that side that is going out. Simple as that. We're using chat, so it makes it easier. So this beautiful little button here that's like a reverse icon, we're going to reset the chat session, start from scratch. Okay, Command S. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to add some tools to this. Well, we've got Google Sheets. So let's start with Google Sheets. Let's start with the Google Sheets tool. And what we're going to do is we're going to choose from the list our first build and sheet 1. And then we are going to add a calendar, Google Calendar tool to this. We're going to create a new credential for Google Calendar, exactly as we have done previously. Same account. Select all. Continue. sign in with Google just to make sure. Sometimes it bugs out. I don't like it. That's why I make sure that it does it. It's connected. Okay. Select your calendar. Michael at High Autonomo AI. This will be your calendar. The operation here is create an event. Okay. So we have the ability to now create calendar events. So create calendar events. Update a row in Google Sheets. So we have those two. What else could we use? We could use Gmail because we've set that up already. So we're gonna add another tool, and we're gonna set Gmail tool. And what we're actually gonna do is we're gonna have it. What operation should we do? Get many? Get an email? We're going to use it to get an email because we're going to use something funky. So we're going to use it to get an email. So the operation, we've added the tool Gmail, right? And inside of it, we've selected the operation get. Now, the message ID here, it's asking us to put the message ID in. Well, we don't have a message ID right now. So this beautiful little button here lets the model define this parameter. And if you tick it, it will get, the operation get will get the most recent email. Okay. Now, what we need to do here is give the AI a bit of a brain. This is why AI agents get really confusing and can break quite easily. Even if you group them into sub workflows, they can break, but that's for another day. I'm going to press L to just remove that for a minute. I'm going to hit align center so you can see it. We've got the chat trigger. We've got Gemini Flash memory, create calendar events, update in a row in Google Sheets. Did I have the right thing? No, operation, append or update row is what we want. So append or update a row. Yeah, so we need to edit this sheet because it was on the wrong one. So you come inside of the Google Sheets, append or update a row. Our first build, sheet 1, column to match on, email, and then you do the exact same thing with these. You have AI be able to identify them, let the model define this parameter. And I'll show you why in a moment. So we can create calendar events, we can get a message in Gmail, and we can do that. But we've done all of this and built all of this out without giving the AI assistant any feedback on how it should operate. And we need to give it a system message. Right now, it's your helpful assistant. But in order to make it use the correct tool at the right time, when information comes in from our message, because we've given it basics of names and stuff, and it can do that. But when we're getting it to use specific data types, we need to have a system prompt to be able to assist us with it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take a screenshot of this. Apparently I'm taking a screenshot. I've never seen that before. There you go. Take a screenshot of my flow. I'm going to go to AI Studio. I'm going to go back to, we were there. AI Studio. I'm going to turn the temperature down. I have attached an image that is a screenshot of an AI agent that can use Google, that can use Gmail to get an email, Google Calendar to, let's check what we've got, calendar just to set out, create calendar events, Google Calendar that can create events, and Google Sheets that can update a row. This is I need a system, a very simple basic system prompt that assists the AI agent in assigning the correct tool depending on the input from the chat trigger. Depending on the input, let's keep it there. Depending on the input. Now we run. So this is going to produce us the prompt without us writing it. And this is why I'm using it. And you can see what it's spat back out. You're an AI assistant and with access to the following tools used for creating events, scheduling meetings or setting reminders, used for updating or adding information to a spreadsheet, Gmail used for retrieving information from emails. Okay, so we have all of this information inside of here. We've got the prompt comes from the source of the chat trigger, and we're going to replace this with, let's change it to an expression just so we can get it out, by the way, just so we can get it into this view. In case you didn't follow that, literally just check, it was fixed like this when I pasted it in. I'm going to delete it all. It was fixed like this. If you change it to an expression and double click that little icon again, you've got the result here and you've got the expression here. Obviously we can edit the expression. So I'm going to paste this in. Is it going to allow me to paste, or is it going to just do that to me? Okay, so let's just go and grab it again quickly from here. Let's copy it. Copy text back to n8n. Paste in. Be careful here to pull out the system prompt and text. You're an AI assistant that has access to the following tools: Google Calendar, Google Sheets, and Gmail. Yeah, you see, here we are, used for retrieving from emails. Analyze the user's search request and use the if the user request is create an event, use Google Calendar to request on a sheet, updating a sheet or adding a row, use Google Sheets. So now we've given it some context and a brain to understand which tools to use, and they are all connected. Okay, so Command S. We now should be able to use this. Where's the chat gone? Well, L, the hotkey, to bring up the chat for our chat trigger. Now, when it comes down to this, hi, my name is Michael. Please fetch me my most recent email. It's using its brain, memory, node executed. I can only fetch an email if you provide me with its ID. Well, the ID inside of the email, my friend, is defined. Let's change this to get many. We should work with get. Let's just change that to get many. Command S. This is guaranteed to be a problem with the prompt. Yeah, exactly. So let's say this. Please can you use Gmail to fetch me my most recent email? Your most recent email is, hi Michael, there's a new AI lead, please see below. Name, Michael, service, AI description. Okay, so you can see that. Now, you've got a fully functioning workflow here. Let's now give it a challenge. Please can you update the Google Sheet with the following information: name, test, email, test@email.com, service, test, description, this is a test. Also, can you create a meeting at 6 p.m. today with Michael at AdTrain? Create a meeting at 6 p.m. today about the sales. Please create a meeting today at 6 p.m. about last week's sales. And fetch my most recent email. But what I'm going to do here is, so you can see what I've done. I'm going to Command C that. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to reset chat session so it starts afresh, and I'm going to paste it in. Now we should see all three tools work and the power of an AI assistant. You should see it. It's using Gemini. It's gone back through. It's now done the calendar. It's now fetched the email, and the output is done. He's created an email at 6 p.m. I have created you an email. Let me drag this up. What am I doing? I have created a meeting for you at 6 p.m. today about last week's sales. Here is your most recent email from Michael at Atomo AI, the same one that we've got as before. So guys, well done so far. You've got 2 flows built. You can now book meetings, you can now update rows, you can send emails, but all of you with a keen eye will have spotted something. When it comes down to the individual calendar booking, the calendar booking is happening like an hour from now. At any time, so whenever you sent that message, it would fire off and it would do it there. And the reason for that, AI agents like to hallucinate, so that's one piece. But the other thing is that if you look at the prompt that we've actually put inside of the AI assistant, so we go in here, look at the prompt that we've put inside of the AI assistant, analyze the user's request. It's very generic Google Calendar, or setting reminders. So what we want to do is we want to say, for this is what I'm going to put in here to make this work. For Google Calendar, your reference point should always be 2 curly brackets, $, now, which means now, exactly now as it stands. Should always be now. So if the user requests a meeting for this Friday, you know it's the closest Friday in the future. And this is good. This is what you would do. This is what you would do in my situation now to showcase to you, but in production it wouldn't. But this one line should fix it. Let's see if we can now book a meeting for Friday at a different time or whatever. So press L, open the chat. There's one other thing actually. Go into Google Calendar, and in here, inside of the Google Calendar node, ensure that they are enabled to be dynamic start and end times. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say Command S is what we're going to do, not that. Command S is what we're going to do. And then we're going to say, please book me a meeting on Friday at book a meeting this Friday at 6 p.m. to discuss our Q4 marketing efforts. Let's go. There you go, 6 till 7 p.m. Is that the time that I gave it? 6 p.m. on Friday to book and discuss your marketing efforts. So that's that fixed. We've learned a little bit about system prompting. The now time in here was really important for the AI to be able to understand and ground itself to an individual time. Press the curly brackets, press the $sign, and type now, references now. You can have a look. If you hover over it, it tells you. Or it should at least. Or there you go, in the output, even in the result. It's been a long day. Date and time gives you the date, time, exactly what time it is now. Yeah, that is at the exact time. And yeah, we've created a full AI assistant. So guys, we've built 2 flows, and those 2 flows are practical working flows. One is the start of a flow that you could then expand on further, which is what we're going to do in our next steps. Maybe we'll build from scratch again. Who knows? We'll see what comes to mind. I have a bit of a plan around it. But this video is designed at beginners, and if you're a beginner, you have now just learned the fundamentals of n8n and how to implement them into an actual functioning flow, including problem solving something, which I gave you the answer to, yes, in terms of the now, and it is a little bit of a cheat code instead of rewriting the whole system prompt. The point is that we saw an issue with the calendar booking and we fixed it, and we got it to book future meetings. That's as a beginner, as a new person using n8n for the first time, or building for the first time, or one of the first times, you should be proud of yourself for what you've delivered in this video. This puts you like above 80% of people, so you now have a core understanding around things, and your brain will be ticking differently, I'm sure, like about ways how you might be able to use it moving forward. This is one step of a multi-step series. Thanks for sticking with me. Like, comment and subscribe, especially on this video, because if educational videos are what you want, then I will continue to produce them, but I need to know that is what you want. Guys, thanks for following me. It's been a long video. I'll catch up with you soon. Cheers.